Let me go hit record real quick, sir. Are we ready? Find it. Okay. It's going to hit record, then we'll start.
Okay. Mr. President, I have one thing to change on here, but do you have anything that can move up?
It is 5:01, and we'll call the meeting to order. And do a roll call. Let's see. Mr. Terrazas?
Here.
Ms. Murillo is not here today. Myself, Gilbert Guadiana, here. Ms. Dean
Present.
and Ms. Begay.
Present.
Okay. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you all for coming. Our first item that we'll deal with is the whole school presentation. And so the elementary school,
Mr. President, can we do our board norms first?
Yes, we can. Okay, actively listen to all perspectives.
Close the loop. Responding to concerns and questions as unified board.
Model the professionalism we expect from all members of the district and community, customer service orientation.
Assume positive intent.
Be positive and responsive. Okay. So the host presentation, have we notified them?
You go get 'em.
Okay. Yeah, we can. Okay. We won't be able to, the orientation of the presentation will be looking that way. So we're going to go around so we can see the presentation as intended.
one thing that my job is, or well, my job is to teach, of course, but I'm part of the technology department. So what we've been trying to do is integrate technology also into our bilingual program. So we've been using a site that's called Flipgrid, and it's a free site that we've been able to use, and the kids are having a lot of fun with it. They're able to actually video themselves recording out. So they've done book recommendations and things like that. For Hispanic Heritage Day Month, the students presented. So I'm going to go ahead and play a couple of the students' videos for you guys, so that you guys can move on with the agenda.
Hispanic Heritage Month is a month where we celebrate Hispanic people that have a big impact in American history, like Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, and Roberto Clemente. Countries that celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month are Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Costa Rica, etc. Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated September 15th through October 15th. President Lyndon Johnson, Ronald Reagan, and George W. Bush all played an important act in creating Hispanic Heritage Month. I am proud to be a Hispanic because we are hard workers and we fight for what we believe. That is why Hispanic Heritage Month is very important in the world.
Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated for the people of Mexico and other Spanish-speaking countries that celebrate this day because they won their independence. And it goes through a month from September 15th through October 15th. But at first it was only 1 week by Lyndon Johnson, the president. He had put it as a week and in 1968, but in 1988 it was expanded to 30 days from Ronald Reagan in 1988. The population of Hispanic speaking people is now to 60,005,072 million about that, and it's celebrated. It was under a week and done.
Hispanic Heritage Month is about Hispanic Heritage Month starts on September 15th and ends on October 15th. The Hispanic Heritage Month is basically celebrating Hispanics winning their independence and also celebrating what good Hispanics did for our country, which is Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez. Did you know that there was not a Hispanic astronaut? So Ellen Ochoa was the first Latina or Hispanic astronaut. People say because you're white, you cannot be Mexican. It doesn't matter. You can be Mexican, whatever color or race you are. Don't judge a book by its cover. Sonia Sotomayor was the first Latina to serve on U.S. Supreme Court. More than 60,572,237 identify as Hispanic, Latino, or Latina. Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated in Costa Rica, Guatemala, San Salvador, and USA and Mexico. So that's some facts about Hispanic Heritage Month and why people celebrate it, or why it's celebrated.
Like I said, it's just the beginning, but they're building confidence now, and before I would do presentations and invite family in, so this kind of gives us, where we can do presentations and their family can see it from home, or they can present it from home as well, so. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda. Thank you very much for the presentations. It was very enjoyable to watch. It's good to see the kids and the teachers' interactions. Our next item on the agenda is Students of the Month.
Mr. President, the Kiwanis Club has been partnering with us, and they'd like to present the Students of the Month at our monthly board meeting. So
Good morning. I was hoping everybody would stay here. Most people know about our terrific kids that we do in the schools during the day, but for the junior high and high school, we also do a Student of the Month. And if you've been here long enough, you remember what we used to do. We're still going to see about a banquet for Student of the Year to let you know. We're still working on that. So tonight, I'm here to do 2 students from Cobre High and 2 students from Snell. And with your illustrious superintendent here, we're going to keep this up, as he said, for all the board meetings, and hope to have the students and the parents here, because I'm going to take a picture, and it's going into the paper, and information about you also. So I have 2 for Cobre High, 1 for last month, October, and 1 for November. Now, excuse me on my pronunciation. I asked the student over there to help me, but bear with me. First one for October Student of the Month is Kiana Hertef. Please come forward. Kiana has been nominated as the October Student of the Month. She is presently a senior at Cobre High School. She carries an excellent cumulative grade point average above a 4.0. Kiana has enrolled in several honors and dual enrollment classes, ensuring that she gets the best grade possible. She also works hard to make sure she is academically challenged and learning. She is very active in school and other activities throughout the community. Kiana is a member of the Cobre National Honor Society, Cobre Band, Mesa, Dream Makers, and Key Club. All these keep her very busy with and community service. Kiana recently participated in the LDZ Youth Leadership Program at UNM. She has greatly enjoyed her participation in that event and is presently working to help and recruit other students for this year's program. Kiana is very hardworking, kind, and talented, and she is a wonderful person and always works to do her best, which I can attest to because we work together with our club and the Key Club from Cobre. Her personality is modeled by her wonderful family and friends, which provide her with unlimited support and strength. Kiana is an amazing young lady and well-deserving of the Student of the Month. Congratulations. And what are you going to be? A what? What kind of nurse?
Probably I'm looking at pediatrics.
Okay. Don't leave because I want to get all your pictures. Okay, the November Student of the Month, Whitney. Well, Whitney has been nominated as the November Student of the Month. Whitney is also presently a senior at Cobre High School. She has an excellent cumulative grade point average above a 4.0. Whitney is enrolled in several honors courses at Cobre High School. Whitney participates in the Cobre National Honor Society, Mesa, and Cobre Pride Band. Whitney is probably one of the nicest and most kind people you would meet. She is very hardworking in all her classes and the organization in which she participates. Whitney treats everyone with respect and kindness and tries to ensure that everyone around just feels good. With her personality and smile, she does that with even realizing. Whitney is a silent leader by showing work ethics and morality to others. Whitney's comes from a family that ensures they work hard and now know and realize their potential and skills needed for their future. They are an amazing support for Whitney. Whitney is very well deserving of the Student of the Month and many other awards and honors. She is great. There's a certificate, there's a bumper sticker for Student of the Month, there's a pen, and a gift certificate for Wendy's, so you can go get what you want. The other two are from Snell. There's a Jacqueline Andrea for the Student of the Month for October. She's not here. And the Student of the Month for November is Ismail Robal. Okay. Oh, come on up. Smaya is an extraordinary young woman. I've seen, this is from Mrs. Roxanne Ogas. I've seen many examples of her leadership skills and have long been impressed by her diligence and work ethics. Asmaya has outstanding organization skills. She is able to successfully complete multiple tasks with favorable results. Asmaya's personal strengths are as impressive as her intellectual accomplishments. Asmaya is the perfect person to get a group project rolling, but she also knows how to sit back and let others take the lead. Her cheerful nature and openness to feedback means she's always learning and growing as a learner, an impressive strength that will continue to serve her well in college and beyond. Ismaya is the kind of driven, engaging, and curious student that helps make our classroom a calm environment and safe place to take intellectual risk. Congratulations. You got a Cobre picture that I could put in the, girls, will you please go stand in front of there if we can get it, so I can get also the Cobre emblem, so they know it's definitely from. The other student, is there somebody here that can get this to her, please? Okay, I want to take two pictures. First one, I want you serious and I want you to smile. The sun's high. Okay, if you do this one, we'll take pictures of the terrific kids. Make a funny face. I don't care, make any face you want. As I said, this will go in the paper, and you will also be mentioned on the radio station. Thank you. Thank you, parents.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
I'll see you Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.
There we go. Next item on the agenda is public input for any items that are in the, on the agenda. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Can you come here and state your name, and that way it's. Thank you.
My name is Erica Villegas, and I'm a parent. I don't know exactly where it might fit into, but maybe finances or school fundraisers. My question is in regards to when I purchase something from the school, such as, for example, the boograms that just happened in October. Also, the Thanksgiving meal tickets that I purchased, or when I contribute to the food drive. Where that money goes to, how it's being allocated, and receipts for tax deduction when I do make a monetary contribution to the school.
Is this a public comment or a question?
It is items on the agenda, and that we can respond to that. Actually,
Elaborate if you like, I just don't know whether I would continue, I mean, for me, these are forms of question.
I can answer that question.
Okay.
May I return to my seat?
So we have a tax deduction number, and we give you a receipt when you make a donation.
Okay, so I would like to state that I have done this and I have not received anything. So I don't know who's in charge of when we do make a purchase, you know, where we move forward to receiving that information. Also, at the time that I purchased the tickets for the Thanksgiving dinner, at that time, no one was able to tell me how or where those funds are being allocated when I purchased those tickets. I purchased over $20, more than $20 of boograms. The same, did not receive a receipt. I also asked where that money goes to. It's not provided an answer either. Also made a contribution, a pretty big contribution of a food donation. Did not receive anything then either.
So I know for the food donations, my office has a receipt book, and they give receipts. The finance director has the receipt book, and if you haven't gotten it, we'll give it to you as soon as possible. Each school, hold on just a minute, each school should give you a receipt for the donations that you've given or the money for the boograms. I'm not even sure where that is from. But
Right, so that is why I'd like to bring it to attention, because of course I'm having to stand here to bring that to question.
and along those lines, I'm sure you're not the exception to the rule. That's probably what's going on with anybody else that provides that. And so, there it goes. I know that I've made donations too, and I've never, ever had anything that was given in forms of receipt. So,
Well, I can tell you that the finance director and I just spoke last week to make sure that everybody that donated for the we'll get you squared away.
Yes, so
What-
moving
what
forward-
what schools?
Bayard Elementary. So moving forward, as a parent, what I would like to request from the board is I would like to know what the protocol is, if there is a protocol, so that I and other parents know what to do, other than should we have to be asking every time I make a monetary donation or purchase something?
I don't think on the purchases you can get a tax deductible receipt.
Well, when I mean a purchase is I'm giving something, right, to the school. I purchased boograms, right? Even though they're $1, I actually bought over 20 of them. So that in itself, even though they were going to the students, obviously that money is going to the school itself. So, and that would be, for me, a tax deduction, right? Giving something to the school. So.
There'll be a discussion under audit committee where we're going to look at things.
Correct. And then as well, I think that it would be important for any member, facility, faculty, whoever is working at the school, that as a parent, I say, hey, do you know what this money is going towards? And they know, whether than I have no idea, or go call the front office, or go call this, or go call that, rather than, come on, we need to be informed about where is money going, right? If I make a donation, monetary, whatever it may be, where is it going? So I'd like to bring that forward, and that it be addressed properly, so that we have the correct information for myself and all other parents that may not be aware of how that works when we make a donation to the school of any form.
So we should be looking at this systematically and uniformly in all the schools and all the.
And maybe on our literature that we send out, advertising these things, we can say proceeds go to, we just had a fundraiser at my school and we said proceeds go to student shirts. I think it could be as simple as that.
And I also feel that the positivity to this, making sure that it's, that it's understood, is we may have more people contributing if they know that for some it may be an eligible tax deduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public input? Okay, then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. I'm sorry? Okay. Yeah. Would you go ahead?
So, good evening. So, for you guys that may not know me, my name is Cristina Ortiz. I am now your local representative for USDA under the Rural Development Program. And I just wanted to give you a brief update of the new program that has been established. And it's called Rural Partners Network. Okay. This program was put in place by the Biden administration, and it was developed in order to provide or get more resources out to the local communities and the programs that need the funding.
If I could interject just for a second, was this an item that was intended to be on the agenda?
I thought it would be like legislative stuff for projects.
You can have it under the public comment section. The section of public input at this point is related, if it's related to any of the items that are on the agenda.
Okay.
And this one's not. And the public comment at that point falls into compliance with the Open Meetings Act because it is on the agenda. Comments afterwards don't have to be on the agenda, but we can't respond to the comments being made, but we can put you on the agenda. If you'd like to wait to be recognized during the next session, which is closer towards the end of the meeting, or if you'd like to be on the agenda for the next meeting and you'll have a specific time.
No, I can do it at the next section of your meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, going back to, now we go into action items and we go to the approval of the agenda. Superintendent?
So, Mr. President, board members, I'd like to remove 11B, the entry plan. It's on here twice, actually. It's on here as an approval, an action item, and it's also under my report. I'd like to move 11A so that it's right after 4. That's the attendance report. And I'd like to move 7 between 3C and 3D. That's the audit committee report. So remove 11B, move 11A after 4, and then move 7 between 3C and 3D. That's the audit committee report. Those are the only requests I have.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda, given the changes described by Dr. Spalletta.
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
All those in favor, or I'm sorry, is there any discussion on the moves or any additional? Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda as revised, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we're looking at the approval of bills, I'm sorry, approval of October 24th board minutes. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I had a couple of things. One is, let me see if I can find it now. It's going back to. There was a report of, from Palms and Associates. Was that POMS or was that actually Palms?
POMS.
Okay, it's written as PALMS. I lost my. Sorry, I lost my drive. Let's see. It's item 10D, Title 9, Julie Garcia with Palms and Associates. And underneath it, 10E, just a small typo, item was tabled as opposed to table. Those are the only two changes that I can see. 10E. So if, Spaghetti, did you make the motion? Who made the motion? Okay, would you approve amending your motion to include those two changes?
I'd like to amend my motion to reflect the changes of Palms and Associates as well as tabled.
And second?
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. And now it takes us to the approval of bills. Is there anybody that, from the finance committee that participated?
I participated.
Here you go.
I was present at the finance committee meeting, and there was some questions, but we as a finance committee are putting forth approval of the bills.
Okay. Then I would entertain a motion for the approval of the bills.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the bills, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The audit. Oh, there it goes. For a second. The audit committee did meet last Wednesday, and we discussed the proposals that were submitted for the RFP for the special audit. We made an approval of contractor, and we make a motion for the approval of, you have the contract, I'm sorry? Yes. You have the contract? Or? Actually, was, yes, if you would.
So, Mr. President and board members, so I'm going to read the request for a proposal for the Special Forensic Audit Services. 3 proposals were received and reviewed based on the set criteria outlined in the scope of work provided by the Cobre School District. The evaluation committee members reviewed the proposal from the following offerers: Clifton Larson Allen, Eddie Bailey, Harmilo Accounting Group. The scoring process allowed for a maximum of 100 points. Clifton Larson scored a total of 87.84. Eddie Bailey scored a total of 71.99. Harmilo Accounting Group scored a total of 95. The procurement manager recommended Harmilo Accounting Group to provide services to conduct a special forensic audit for the Cobre School District.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, not having any, we'll call for a vote. Mr. Roll call vote. Ms. Dean,
Yes.
Ms. Begay,
Yes.
myself, yes. Mr. Terrazas?
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved unanimously. Contract is approved. Now we go on to approval of board policies for Section B, school board governance and operations.
Mr. President, what about your audit committee report?
That
Or was that it?
That was it.
Okay.
So, Mr. President, on the board policies, they have not had a chance to review those yet. I spoke to him today, and he hasn't finished with those yet. So hopefully at our next meeting, we'll have a chance to do that.
Okay, so that gives people, the board members, still, if they have any additional input on the policies for Section B, before we submit them to, before the.
So I'd like to make a motion to table approval of board policies, Section B, school board governance and operations until next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I made the motion.
Second, sorry.
Motion and second. Okay, motion and second. Is there any additional discussion? Not having any, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of tabling the policies related to school board governance and operations signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Board retreat.
So, Mr. President and board members, the 120-day entry plan has been completed. So before I present the information to the community and the stakeholders, I'd like to see about part of the entry plan was a board retreat to review that information. So I wanted to get your feedback on having a retreat, maybe a 3-hour Saturday or a 3-hour evening that we could go through the entry plan in its entirety.
And the entry plan won't be the sole part of the retreat. It will be also the dynamics within the board and just kind of a good chance for us to have conversation of where it is we're going with this. And for the purposes of having that done as soon as possible, this Saturday might be about the only time.
I'm not available this Saturday.
Neither am I.
Is there an alternative date that people will be available?
We're going to shoot for December 3rd, Saturday, December 3rd.
That's our school board association meeting in Albuquerque.
December 10th.
That works for me.
Yes, that's good.
Is there a location?
You had mentioned, or does anybody have a preference between it here in the metropolitan area of Bayard, or are we going to Mimbres? Thank you.
I was just thinking away from the school buildings, but whatever's convenient for everyone.
I would suggest away from the school. It's my suggestion.
So the Mimbres.
I can check the lodge there in Mimbres and see if that's available for that date.
Okay, would we be interested in a afternoon meeting, or would we want to start in the morning and end early by noon?
I'd prefer morning.
So do I.
And no preference for me.
Okay, can we start somewhere around 9 o'clock and then finish it, or 8 o'clock and finish it by noon?
Let me make sure that time is available.
9:30? Okay, maybe by 1. Okay. Actually, we have a lunch then as well. You can provide,
Lunch
arrange
too?
for a lunch and then we'll end it at 1 o'clock. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll set that for December 10th from 9 till 1. Location will be provided at a later point. All those in favor of having the retreat on that date, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Student representatives report. Okay, here you go.
Good afternoon, Board President, board members, and Superintendent Spalletta. Recently, we had our Thanksgiving dinner, and the kids really enjoyed that. So, big thank you to the lunch ladies and everyone who provided it. And we even had the principal and some of the other staff come and help and serve the lunch, which is really nice. And then we had our NHS tappings, our National Honor Society. So we have introduced all of the juniors into, well, they're gonna do a type of meeting with the sponsors of NHS, and they will have to do a little interview to see if they're able to get in, so very hopeful. And then a lot of the heaters have been working recently in the classrooms, so it hasn't been so cold. I was told that in the lunchroom, they were supposed to come and take a look at it today or tomorrow, so very hopeful for that as well. And then recently, a lot of the seniors, me as well, have been able to go to Mr. Peña and get a lot of information about scholarships, colleges, and everything, and it's been very helpful.
And is this like a one-to-one meeting, or is it group meeting, mails?
One-to-one meeting, also emails. And it's, of course, anytime you ask him, he is more than willing to help spend time and really figure out where we need to go and what we need to do to get scholarships or learn more about colleges.
Very good. Have you found where you're going?
Yes, I would love to go to Harvard University. That is where I'm striving.
I think I know where that is. That's very good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Thank you.
We
Thank
should
you so
talk.
much.
Okay. That concludes your report?
Yes, that does. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to unfinished business, the elementary gym project. Mr. Day?
Oh, I think we have 11A first, the attendance report.
We went from here, oh, okay, I'm sorry. 11A, sorry, which is the attendance report, sorry about that.
Are they gonna put the-
So I think Victor's gonna put the PowerPoint up.
It's in the back, probably.
I printed it out, so you see it's like 300, it's in the 300s.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Spalletta, my attendance report. So I'm Denise Mathis, attendance coach. So as of November 10th, we have gone down in enrollment, 15 students. My enrollment includes the 3Y that are included in Power School. Diana Davis's reports is gonna probably be different. So each school has lost a few. I think Central Elementary lost one. Bayard lost one. Sando stayed the same. Snell lost and Cobre High lost. So a lot of those students in the Snell and Cobre, a lot of them have gone on homeschool. And I've contacted a few of those, and a lot of them have just different issues that they'd rather be home doing school. So I have a list of those kids that I have called. So as far as the attendance does look different than September because we are already into November. However, the numbers aren't too bad. And I just pulled unverified. I didn't pull anything other than everything that was unexcused. So anything that was excused isn't in this percentage. Does that make sense? Yeah. When either a parent calls or doctors know, or the school nurse sends the student home. So in August, I sent out 242 letters there was a 3-day notices, kids that have missed 3 days, unverified. So on Friday, 270 letters went out, and the schools, they got different letters. So some got a 3-day letter, some got a 5-day letter, and some got a 10-day letter. And that's for all unverified absences. So, and then below is the list of how many students got letters for each school.
Our total, our total number of students is around 900?
Just under 1,000.
Okay, so this is more than a quarter of them receiving letters?
Yes.
The effect of the 242 letters that were sent out in August,
Mm-hmm.
do you know how many of those actually then either provided documentation or?
I don't know the number, but I know I did, and the secretaries did get in contact with some of the parents that called, and also called me and said, you know, my child was absent, however, it needed to be fixed in Power School. So quite a bit of those did get fixed. I'm not sure on the number right now.
So of the 270 letters, how many of those included those that went out in the 242?
I don't know. I didn't compare those two. I just pulled whatever Power School brought up.
The data is good to see, but the impact is also something that I would hope that the report would include next time.
Okay.
To show that, and what methods work in terms of getting more participation. I know that some students have transportation issues.
Yes.
Maybe helping them with something like that.
Yes, I've done a
so-
few of those.
So would like to see what is being used to improve the attendance
Okay.
and the impact of that. And if you have any suggestions on anything else that might make their attendance be that this is a good forum to bring it up in.
Okay.
That's fine.
It's my first year as a parent. Do any of the schools here, specifically the elementary, which my child attends, when he misses a day, are the parents called at all?
No, I know there used to be a system. This is my first year doing this, but I know in the previous years there was a system that was automatically generated and the parent was called. However, I don't believe that's in place.
The reason I bring that up is because as a parent, single, I forget to call when my kid's sick. I'm already dealing with a sick kid, or maybe I'm sick, and I know that in other schools that he attended, that's helped. I don't know if there is capacity or the logistics of that being out, but I do know that that at least helped me and may or may not address certain verified.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
I personally don't know. My child's absences should all be excused, and honestly, I don't know if they are, because I don't know if I called every day that he was actually sick. So as far as those numbers, I don't know logistically how that all factors in, right? With, I mean, I called, but I didn't call every day.
Right. And with my position, I have the 1,015 students, so I can't check everybody daily. However,
It would be more of like a
I know some of the secretaries do if they notice a student missing and it's kind of odd that they're missing, some of the secretaries do call.
So as a, if that may get better, especially once we start in October, we're gonna get more.
Right.
Right, I hate for our youth as of things like their academics.
Right.
I'm worried about it over at
I have a concern related to not notifying the parents if a student doesn't show up to school. something could happen. And we would lose valuable time
Right.
if it is identified to the parent that the child didn't make it to school.
Mhm. So like for every absence, do you think the secretary should be calling?
So can I interrupt? Ms. Davis and I have been actually talking about this and having an automated system, so when the student's absent, that the system calls, and Victor just verified that he's been working on that through Parent Square.
So will that be in place, and if so, when?
I'm currently looking into it, but as soon as I'm hoping maybe we can have it in place, maybe in the next 2 weeks or so, sooner.
Do we know, did we have that, and why?
We used to have that through School Messenger. It was an implementation through Power School. We could do the same thing through Parent Square. There's just a section in there that we have to turn it on. So I'll get the ball rolling on that.
Okay, can we have a follow-up when that's done?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, then, just wanted to give a quick update on the attendance challenge that I was doing in the fall. So the numbers that are on this PowerPoint are a little different than today because I revised them today. So today, there is 127 kids that are eligible instead of the 166.
Can you let the board know what the attendance challenge is? Again, it's been about a month or so.
Yes, so they had from October 3rd to November 17th. Well, that hasn't ended yet, but they have to get perfect attendance and they get like 2 tardies depending on what times they are. If they're early, we let them slide for 2 tardies. And then they'll be winning each school. I have purchased each school a tablet. Grant County Title did donate one. So I purchased, and then Snell and Cobre will be getting gift cards for Amazon. I did talk to some of the students before the challenge, and in the middle school and high school, they decided a gift card would be best. So I'm doing that. So we have 127 that are at perfect attendance for the district. And each student eligible that does the perfect attendance will be getting a certificate and also something else that we're trying to put together.
Is there plans to do one in the spring as well?
Yes, I have other ideas that I need to look at, so yeah.
Maybe we can do like a bike as a gift at the,
Yes.
or a prize at the elementary school?
Yes. So I know the kids in the elementary, when I did talk to the ones in Central Elementary and told them that they could possibly win a tablet, they were so excited.
There's no other questions? Thank you very much. Okay, then this time we'll go to the elementary gym project.
In your packet, there's, I think, a plan that you may have received before. Mr. Kinnan will give you a little bit more information about where the status of the elementary gym project.
At the very beginning.
Last week, we met with the Finance Committee. We had a contractor on board for the elementary gym, but they wanted some more bids, quotes. So we contacted ASA Architects, and they have contacted about 4 additional CES contractors to, give us a quote, and that will take about 3 weeks. So what it did was actually put it back, and the only really positive thing going forward right now in the elementary gym is a soil sample has been completed.
It's been completed?
Yeah, the soil sample has.
Okay. So nobody signed off on the prints yet Or has the architect signed off on the prints?
Well, they sent us schematics. He hasn't completely finished. There's some really minor stuff, but right now, it's kind of put on hold till we get some more quotes. Because you guys wanted quotes, more quotes.
That's true, but the architect can sign off on the drawings prior to the quotes, correct?
Yeah. There were just some minor changes. I mean, he may have signed off, I stand corrected, but there were just some minor things he was doing, because there's some things in there that the district was gonna do, just minor stuff to save us some money as opposed to the contractor doing it.
So there is a series of sign-offs that are gonna be taking place, and I guess a lot of that is dependent on the awarding of the contract. But is there an estimate that we can get as to when we expect construction to begin?
Well, as I mentioned in the finance committee, I think realistically, I don't see us, other than maybe some dirt work, but anything that looks like a construction site, probably not till the summertime. Yeah, and that's just because of the lead time for getting materials. Because it looks like we're going to be we'll be in the next month before we actually choose a company. So, and then in my experience, when you get in December, not a lot happens till January. And so I would think it would be the summertime before we'll see it. And this isn't a major project. So if they've done some dirt work beforehand, this thing, if all the materials were there, the metal, this thing could be done in the summer.
One of the issues in the finance committee meeting was the amounts. We had an amount of $1.8 million versus the $1.1 billion that's available. Did you get any?
Well, the first number was what we had, and it was my fault, but I was just trying to give the finance committee an idea of why we chose this company with CES. And those of you who are familiar with CES, you don't have to go out to bid. CES is used all over the state of New Mexico, and they kind of do the bidding process for you. And so then you can choose one of those companies that's a member of CES. And so there was two companies, and they gave us bids because of the history of this particular project, starting out at the high school and ended up at Central. That the reason why we chose one, because the two bids that we got for a full gym, they were a little less. So it stood to reason that it was going to be, that company was be a good company to work for. I mean, to have them work for us. So, but that was comparing apples and oranges. I was comparing a full-size gym to a half gym. I wasn't really comparing, but I was giving you an idea of what the two companies bid. But now we're going to go ahead and get a minimum of 3 quotes from CES contractors.
For the half size?
For the half size, yeah.
Any other questions? Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
You don't want me to stay up here?
Yes.
I got to get up out of there again.
Mr.
Sure.
President, he's also going to talk about the Central Water Project.
Then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Central Water Project.
And that's, we've got 2 quotes and one company that declined to respond, so we're ready to notify the contractor to start the project whenever y'all give me the go-ahead.
Did we decide whether we're going to go with the the boring versus the?
Well, we found out that one company was going to bore the original, what they bid, and the next company was going to cut. And I went back to the first company and asked them if they made a quote by cutting instead of boring, thinking that the boring was going to be more expensive, but they informed me that the actual cutting would jack the price up. So I'm going with the initial bid. So we'll go ahead and cut and patch.
And
Well, that's from Deming. The one that was a lot lower was Fowler Brothers.
And there was a question as to whether that needed to be a vendor that's been approved by the state.
Well, I imagine they are. I mean, for instance, Fowler Brothers did the dirt work for Central Elementary School. They did the dirt work for Hurley. I think they did the dirt work for this.
But the people that are providing the funding for this, the $37,000, they have, it was stated in the meeting that they have criteria that they have to be under, they have to be approved by that entity.
Right, and you know, I can't answer that. I can find that out. I don't know that.
Okay.
So I had a question. So this bid from DEI is dated back in March. Normally companies, they give you 90 days before for the bid to be valid. Have we reached out to re-quote it, or is followed?
Well, when I reached out to them maybe 2 weeks ago about whether or not to do the boring or to do the cutting, that's when they said it would be more. So I would stand to reason that chances are, if you ask them again, as everything has gone up, it may be a little higher. But Fowler Brothers were less than a third of what this bid was. So it's almost a moot point if the Fowler Brothers are on that DOT list.
Any other questions? Thank you. I think you're doing policy review, so I guess.
Was that?
Actually, he has been very involved in policy reviews. The update on the policy reviews is that we've gone through A, we did do B, C, D, and parts of E. And the finance part was done, and having Frank there was invaluable and went very quick. We're actually approving something like maybe close to 20 policies a night now. And what we're trying to do, though, and Dr. Spalletta is assisting in this, is having the drive set up so everybody's available to look at the policies at home and make changes to that. And I hope that right now we're using my drive. We should have a drive.
So I think Ms. Davis set it up or was going to set it up. Not yet?
It hasn't happened.
Ms. Davis, are you working on that? The policies, get them on so they're shared among everybody?
That was my drive, and I don't know if we want to keep it on my drive per se. Yes, but being on my drive, all the other documents that I have there are yeah. Okay, and we'll continue to use it on my drive.
Is that all right?
Yes, so. Okay, and so that'll give people an opportunity. We'll create a folder that says, I've already created the folder. I just got to move everything in the right place and load the documents that haven't been looked at yet. And that's, there's still quite a few policies that we have to review. So there'll be a policy folder that says reviewed, and then there'll be one that's not reviewed, and then there'll be ones that are further for not on the radar yet. Basically, we'll be going systematically from B on to the end. And we'll have that available for review. People, staff as well as board members should be able to put their suggestions on the changes. They're all Google Docs, so it's not track changes, it's suggestions. And then we're not to engage in conversation with each other except for the part that you just put in. It remains on that document until we have the meeting. In the meeting, we can have the open session discussion on that, where we're not violating the Open Meetings Act. So long as we're there. And the other part too, can the announcement say that a quorum may be available? I mean, may be there. It's not going to be 2 anymore.
So I think we've got it all the way through December, but I'll have her update them. Are we still going to do Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 6?
Yes.
Is that good for everybody, or?
Well, the idea is now that they should be able to do them at home too, if they're not available for that.
Okay.
If there's a more appropriate time, we're quite willing to entertain that. But otherwise, what's that?
Ms. Dean said she picks up her child at 4. I can make a couple. I know I haven't signed up for any, but I plan to.
Yeah, and I pick up my children too every other week when they're with me, and I come in at 4:30. Just let people know that that's going to be the case.
So who's going to be in charge of updating the policies on the drive?
That's a good question. I've been doing it for all this time, but I was particularly interested in those that dealt with board and governance. Now we're entering into a field that I am not that well versed in, which is curriculum, student, and all this other kind of information that I think would be better served by staff. Yes.
So how does the general public and myself have access to these policies?
As we get, you can attend the meetings that, and the policies will be shown there. They are draft policies at this point. As we get them approved by the attorney, we'll have 2 readings, and they'll be posted on the website. When the attorney goes through them and says, okay, these are valid changes that we're proposing, we will announce that after the second reading. And
So after 2 meetings, they get posted?
no, those are readings. Yes. Yeah.
So just to recap that I understand, once they're approved by the lawyer, then they'll go and be posted on the website.
Yes, and that'll.
And is it clear and concise as to, is there already a place designated in the website where these protocols will be taking place?
I don't know that.
Okay, so that's what I ask as a parent, that when this website is developed and there's, and the first one is posted, that there are clear instructions as to how the general public is able to access these policies.
Yes.
They'll be posted on our website and on our Facebook page, both.
I do not do Facebook, and I'm sure there's other people that don't as well, so.
Well, they'll be on our website and our Facebook page.
Right, so, like I said, when will we be notified, or do we know when the first, when should we expect at least the first policy to be put in place on the website?
It would be probably in December, early December at best, because we could have our first meeting, our 25th, our meeting on the 25th this month would be our first reading, if all goes well. And then the meeting after that would be our second reading, for which then they would be posted on that website. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Then we're going to move on to the Finance Committee report. And that's.
So I did a meeting. We went over the salary schedule. There was also some discussion about our meeting being at 1 hour and having everything in place so that our meeting is effective. We also we compared the Silver District salary schedule to Cobre's salary schedule. Ms. Davis is going to do a breakdown of non-certified staff. And we did go through the bills and approve the bills. There was a question on one of the bills, but it's a new phone system being used in the district. And I did have to leave the meeting early, so I don't know if President Guadiana, if you have anything else to add.
We didn't look at that one anymore, but we did discuss the salary schedules quite a bit. And then after that, we went into the discussion with the gym at Central, at Santa Clara. And the salary schedule, it has been moving in a slow pace going forward, and I think we discussed the ways that we can accelerate it to come to a final conclusion in terms of at least at the salary rate, table that's comparable to a school that is the same size, is something that we should start with as moving forward for the budget for next year. We don't have salary schedules, and we're not competitive in any way, and we've lost a lot of teachers. But that we had a discussion on, and pretty much what you summarized.
Mr. President, do you need to appoint a chair to this committee? Ms. Murillo is going to be taking an absence.
I forgot about that. Yes. Ms. Murillo is currently sitting as the chair, and I had a question as to whether there is a vice chair been appointed, or is it just the chair?
I think just the chair.
Okay, then we can entertain the motion to elect the chair for the Finance Committee. I would entertain some nominations.
Mr. President, does that need to be an action item for next time?
Ooh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, that is correct. We should have put that up on the agenda, on the action item agenda. So that will be for the next time. And, okay, that brings us now to Operations Director report. There's a big table right there too.
Okay, we got bus inspection, since we already covered the elementary gym and the water project. They've been moved to the first week in December, following the bus maintenance contract. Our bus contractor and Dr. Spillett is going to talk about the bus contract, but I did want to mention Tina Montoya has been very helpful in getting the district ready for the inspection, our contractor. AC heaters, continuing to work on them. We have multiple contracted electricians. I say multiple, two electricians, licensed electricians working, contracted working in the district, working on these HVAC units, along with our men. The following sites were worked on in the past week. Snell, rooms 211, 214, 216, 217. We've ordered a thermostat for 217, but it does have heat, but the thermostat's about shot. But the heat is on. At the high school, 4 units were fixed, requiring conduit and wire for rooms 110, 106, 141, and 146. The Hidalgo Medical Center required parts from Las Cruces, but is operating now with heat. And the high school nursery is also operating, that we got last week. The fire code.
Can how many classrooms are without heat?
Right now, I think there's a science classroom at the high school. Personal stake in that one. It will be fixed hopefully tomorrow.
Okay, for tomorrow. Any others?
No, I think they've got Snell. Snell had a big problem today. We had one of the heaters, looks like some of the pipes been corroded and it was leaking. And we're afraid we're going to be watching that. If that's a case at one spot, it may be a case in other places in the school, which tells me a little shoddy workmanship, because that school's not that old to have some shoddy pipes.
Is that on the refrigeration?
That's in the refrigeration, and it's the mixed unit that does both the heating and the refrigeration. That was in 211, room 211. And we, it's my understanding that, let's see, the high school is, the cafeteria will be getting it tomorrow. We think it's heat, and we're having a DARE program in the, but that system works in the auditorium. We just have to reset it so when the kids are there in the morning, they do have heat. They turn on about an hour before. But to answer your question right now, if I say those are the only ones, I'll get an email tomorrow saying there's a room that still needs heat.
Well, the reason I asked the question is, are there classrooms that it is anticipated it's going to take a little bit longer for the heat to be turned on that can be moved into a different room until that can be accomplished?
You have to talk to the principals. I'm sure if it was real cold, fortunately right now, it's warming up a little bit by 10 o'clock. So that no one's been in too bad. Well, I thought we might have to do that in room 211 at Snell. If they didn't get that thing fixed, they're going to have to move Miss Pena. But I don't think they did. I think they did get it fixed. So to answer your question, I couldn't tell you. We haven't had to move a teacher yet.
The high school does have rooms that are working that they can move if they need to.
Okay, because I don't think that's been done, and I've received complaints from the high school, and I'm glad to hear that we're that far along. But I don't think that's been considered as an option.
Well, I know it was when the ACs were a problem in the fall,
Yeah.
or in the summer, into the summer.
And I don't think that made it to the heaters. But anyway, that can be communicated that.
We're getting pretty close. Mr. Kennan's done a good job getting things squared away.
Okay. Thank you.
Fire code inspections, we've hired a locksmith to remove all the deadbolts, mostly are at the high school. For an explanation, that's when you've got a deadbolt and if some kid's in a room, he can't get out if the thing's locked. And they don't even want the little lever there, because if people are panicking, they want to be able to just push the bar or pull a lever down. So we're removing quite a few deadbolts at the high school, and in some places having to put in a different kind of lock. And we're continuing to address other fire marshal violations. Coyote Cable is working on a quote to address most of the other findings of the report. And I'll be meeting tomorrow and Wednesday with all the principals, along with Dr. Spletta, to review each report. Palms and Associates, we're reviewing their report to address concerns. I've contacted a few districts, waiting for a call back, but I should have something by tomorrow, to see maybe who they use to address these. What contractor, because you're talking a lot of playground equipment and stuff like that. So, you get companies that's what they do all day long. And so that's who you want to get out there, so you know it's done right.
So in the meantime, is there actions taken for like the simple stuff, like adding more wood chips for the fall ratio, stuff like that?
Yeah, we can do it. In fact, we're taking, probably think it's tomorrow, we're taking some sand out to San Lorenzo. So that we put up fence now in about 3 different places just this past week. Yeah, some of the smaller stuff like that. But when it comes to the swing sets, and that's probably not even a correct term nowadays. I don't know what they call it. But if we don't really want to touch those unless we really know what we're doing, because the liability involved. You want somebody that works on those things all the time.
And as of right now, is it okay or safe for our children equipment, or do we need to do alternative recess?
Well, no, I don't think it's been, I think it's safe to play on it. It's just, some of this is also not just for litigation if somebody gets hurt, but also what's going to last, what we need to do as far as maintenance so the stuff lasts longer.
Okay, thank you.
And that was brought out in the report with Palms and Associates.
A lot of the findings were listed as high priorities.
Yes.
Matter of fact, most of them were. And some of them had to do with just simple things like signage. And going back to the fire report, we're still having extinguishers that are not serviced every year. That's low-lying fruit. And Mr. Terrazas had mentioned that the other day. And I know that this one came up again, so I don't know if there was a time lapse between when that first observation was made versus when this report was done. But certainly, I would hope that especially things like that would have been taken care of by now.
Well, if they weren't, I'll apologize. We didn't get to them. We're going just about as hard as we can. And some of that stuff, now I understand from my man has said that he got the fire extinguishers all done throughout the district. But it's also my understanding, and Mr. Ryan can help me, that you need to turn the thing around, and we weren't doing that, and turn it upside down and tap it and stuff like that. So we learned something there.
So even too, there should be a monthly inspection? And then the yearly inspection for the final one, is that something on the maintenance? So like a maintenance schedule that's on every school, or, something that makes sure that whoever's doing it, it's being done, because even people within the elementary, secretary, principal can do those, or teacher. I mean, it's simple.
But don't we also have a contractor that comes in and is supposed to check those?
Service contract.
Yeah.
Monthly
Yes.
or yearly?
It's more than once a year.
More than once a year.
Okay. And so there's no monthly maintenance, just to check off? Okay.
So I'm going to answer your question. If we don't do it, we'll find somebody else to do it. we've had a discussion about that. They haven't been done like they need to, and that's why we were documented back in the summertime. And again, we're not checking them every month. He has somebody that's responsible for checking them every month.
Okay.
Roof repair, roof care, the company Roof Care has been in San Lorenzo, Administration Building, Snell, the high school, and Central. They reached their limit on the purchase order, but they still have Hurley left. I don't think there's many leaks out there, but we're getting a PO done to have them look at that. Bayard, this has been a problem for me. The company John Mansfield is the company that takes care of the warranty on the roof here. And what they do is they contact their nationwide company and they contact a roofer that's in your area to come do it. And they have called multiple roofers and they don't want to do it for whatever reason. So now we're down to, where was I at here? Gills Ventures LLC is the name of the company, the most recent one. They're supposed to come and fix Bayard's leaks. We didn't get Roof Care to do it because this thing's still on warranty. And I think they're out of Texas. They had a 915 number. So probably El Paso. And if we're supposed to hear from them. Each one of them I was supposed to hear within 48 hours. And then I would contact Johns Mansfield. And they didn't want to do it. So they contacted somebody else.
I just wanted to go back real quick to the heat. We just got a text from someone from the public saying that there's no heat in the art room at the high school.
The art room?
Yeah, just
Okay.
to add it to the list.
Okay. The high school is it's an interesting place to work at. 1954. Yes, ma'am.
That's something to talk to the principal about. She can take care of that.
But it might take.
Principal.
And I'll get with the principal here too, because it may require something for us to put something in where they're thinking, yeah. Right.
And it gets windy. Oh, wait till spring. Wait till spring.
And the Facility Master Plan Committee members, Dr. Jeff Spalletta, Susanna Chavira, Frank Ryan, Victor Ramabula, I think that's his name, and myself, Dane Kennett. That's our committee.
There's nobody from the board?
What's that?
There's nobody from the board?
No, you guys are always welcome to be on the committee. Just let us know who you want.
Would you be interested? Would you put Mr. Terrazas?
Mr. Terrazas? Okay.
Thank you.
That's the report.
Mr. President, I want to add that this is the final master plan except for section 4. Remember, section 4 is not public information.
Mhm.
And then we haven't put any next steps on the high school. Remember, we talked about a new high school and we didn't, so I'll put that on the agenda for next time.
That would include the meetings that are coming up this legislative session that we need to prepare for, or?
No, just applying for that waiver, like Mr. Aguilar
Yes.
said, and I'll find out the steps for that.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is Human Resources Director Report.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Spalletta. First item is the Power School update. That was the parent that had the concern about Power School. I did do a follow-up phone call with him, and he was very happy with the teachers at the high school. He's now seeing even comments of when projects are due or things that are overlapping at the high school. So he said he was happy with the outcome at the high school right now with the grading for his student.
Did the changes only happen at the high school? Because I know I have some concerns about the grades not being updated at the middle school.
Yeah. It was sent out, we sent out a video to all the teachers and also for them to, especially our new teachers, to work also with their mentors on grades for Power School at each one of the schools. So it was sent out to everyone, and I know I can kind of speak for Snell. There's a few teachers still not putting in things, so I'll be working with them. I don't know about the other elementaries. I haven't heard any concerns, but I did have a parent come in with concerns at Snell the other day.
Okay.
And so I will kind of follow up with the teachers on what they're doing and making sure that they're getting their grades in on time.
And perhaps rather than being reactive, if we could be more proactive and see if this, communicate to the elementary schools if there's additional need for training there as well.
Absolutely. That's our SIS system. It's a student information system. And that's where all our grades, demographics, and attendance is taken for our district. Yes, if you go to the school, they will give you an access code, and then you'll have access to your child's grades and attendance. The next item was job fairs. We had 2 job fairs, one at the Grant County Community Business Center in Silver, and then we also had one at Western New Mexico University. It wasn't very successful. We did not get any applicants. I did hand out quite a few items at Western, and haven't received anything back from any of the people that took applications or some of our fellows flyers or some of our substitute flyers. And so I know I haven't been different capacity, and so I'm not sure if anything has been turned in to the admin office on any of those job fairs. So I'm sure we'll continue trying to recruit for the positions that we need. We still have them posted on Indeed and Reap, and also on our website, and we keep advertising still in the newspaper and Facebook.
The job fair, was Cobre alone, or was there other?
It was just Cobre because we were needing people, so we wanted to try different locations to see if we could get people to come in.
I appreciate the effort.
And so we tried something different, and so we'll continue to kind of figure out, what else can we do, what else can we put out there to try to recruit people.
If you can get on a calendar where there's large job fairs, where there's many different employers, I think that might have the best results. And Western does that, and I believe
they do one in the spring. I spoke to,
okay.
Yeah, so they'll be doing one in the spring, and absolutely we'll try to join those.
Okay.
Okay, and then data reporting. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of information because we're not certified yet. So just some information kind of to give you, a little heads up on our 40th day reporting. Our 40th day reporting is a snapshot. I think I'm too close to it. On 40th day, it's a snapshot that we have to take on October the 12th. That was our 40th day count. And we do a snapshot of a lot of data that we have to report to the State Department, and that's how they start looking and calculating what kind of funding we'll be getting for the following school year. And so one of the things I wanted to point out on there, because this is very, very important to our district, is on our student count. And I know that Mrs. Mathis said mine is going to be different. The reason the membership report is what we report and what we get funded for students. And so in our membership report, we cannot include our 3Y and 4Y students that are regular ed. We only can submit for our special education students on the membership report. So my count is going to be very different because that's what the state requires. We don't get funding for our 3Y that are not SPED, and our 4Y that are regular ed, we get it through pre-K, so it's a different funding item. So that's why they're not calculated in this formula. So for 40th day right now, and 40th day is not for a budget for next year. It is the average of 80th and 120th day. So those are the 2 days they look, but this is preliminary to kind of help us to start looking at those things. And so right now, what we reported from last year, we had 997 students when I reported at EOY, which again, EOY is not for funding, but it kind of gives us an idea of whether we gained or lost. And for this reporting right now, which again, it's not certified yet, we're in budget. And as soon as we're certified, then we know that's what it is. And the reason I say that is because budget can still ask me to review something or resubmit something right now. So right now, preliminary, we are accounting for 976 students, a total of 21 students that we have lost from last year to now.
And the average, and the amount per student is?
I'll have to go back and look at what they're calculating our students at now. Because it used to be, I think, yeah, for regular ed, I think it was around 7,000. I think it's, or something like that. Or is it, I think less. I know they told us in one of our meetings, so I'll have to go back and look. I'd hate to give you the wrong number.
Can you send this to us so we can see it numerically and what we pulled in last year versus what's expected that we pull in this year?
I can. I don't know what the funding is for each SPED student because it depends on their level of, I think it's called integration, right, Melissa? They get different funding formula for that, and then we also get funding for our bilingual students. And in the membership report, we also have our bilingual students, how many we're going to be getting money for, and that's like around $600 something for each of the bilingual students. And then we have our L students that we also get funding for. So I don't think I have all those calculations and all the funding, but I will try my best to try to at least the regular students, and I can get you the bilingual ones and the Ls.
Okay, and it particularly is important for the finance committee.
Okay. So as soon as we're approved, I'll let Dr. Spalletta know. We are in certification right now. So again, we're just waiting for our budget analyst to finish reviewing and get us certified for this first reporting. And we will be beginning the next reporting on December, I think it's 7th. So we'll start again. I'll be working with the schools and staff and directors to ensure that all our data is correct in PowerScope prior to me pulling it on the 7th. Okay.
Ms. Davis, back to job fairs, I'm sorry. I just wanted to see if you had any success with student workers. I know I had brought it up a couple meetings back.
I talked to some of them. The college students are awesome. They came up and they were, one of the things I haven't shared with Dr. Spalletta, I had quite a few that were like, man, we want to work, but they have zero transportation. And so they live on campus, they stay on campus, and so they had asked me, how far is it? Can we walk there? And so I told them no, but I had told them there's also Corre Caminos and stuff, but they're also limited on funds. And so they were kind of like, wow. And I said, well, think about it, and let's see if there's something that we can work out that maybe we can get something going for them, so maybe they can also come and help out.
Okay, and then I had also inquired about high school students, like for our custodial and food service. So I don't know if that was ever explored.
Yeah, I have to look at what the regulations are that with them, especially working like in the cafeteria. I know that we've had them as, we've had like work studies and stuff where they don't get paid and come help. But I know that in certain areas, we need to see if we're able to have them in those capacities.
Okay, thank you. And then I also wondered if we had the capability to offer like a sign-on bonus, if that would be in the budget to help attract.
That would be our finance director. I don't know what our budget is, and we have fundings to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
We have met with the college about student workers. I know you mentioned high school, but we have met with them a couple times about getting student workers.
Oh, yeah, that's correct. Thank you, Dr. Spalletta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is Special Education Director Report.
Good evening, President and board members and Dr. Spalletta. This evening I'm going to present on, I think, 5 different items. So the first one is screenings. When I was asked last meeting to present this, I'm not quite sure, but screenings as it relates to special education, they are a function of the MLSS, the multi-layer systems of support that we have in place for our students. So their screenings are universal to all students. With regards to special education, there are a couple of times when screenings are provided. One of the instances is for articulation only screenings. If we have a teacher that's concerned about how a student is articulating words, intelligibility of words, sounds, they can do a direct request for articulation for a screen. The other instance is our child find screenings that we have for our teachers and families in our district who are concerned about their child's development and how they're reaching developmental milestones. And typically that's about ages 3 to 5-year-olds. Currently in our district, to date, we've had 8 requests for screenings. All of them have been articulation in nature. 4 of them have been completed, and then 4 are pending. We just received those in the past couple of weeks. So the speech therapists are working on getting those. For those that fail, then what we do is a referral for an evaluation. And if they're for speech in particular, the speech therapists proceed with that process because they are a standalone service.
Can you provide data on failures? What is that percentage-wise?
Okay, I can get that for you. Like I said, out of this, I didn't see how many they were referring out for an evaluation because they handle their own evaluations.
And regarding screening, could you, are these screenings requested by the parents or are they also?
By teachers as well.
By the teachers as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then for special education, we have a different referral process. It's the MLSS and SAT referral process. And those typically are, they can ask our related service providers for some consultations, but they're not screenings per se, because we have to get evaluation, permission to evaluate and isolate children.
And those are the ones we talked, the screenings are the ones that we talked that they will be looked at within so many days, like
No,
6.
that's evaluation.
Okay,
Once
that's
we
evaluation.
obtain permission to test, then an evaluation has to be completed within 60 days.
Okay.
The second item on your agenda that I was asked to present was the SPED teacher FTEs and the class size ratio. And I included that in your packet. This is from 40-day information. So again, our numbers are not certified. And so these are preliminary numbers that we have. We have 13 SPED teachers in our district. And what I did was I just sent you a copy of their roster. And so I can go through each teacher one by one if you'd like me to. We can look at the first page. I have, starting with CHS, teacher number 1 has 13 students. Do you want me to do that for each one?
Ms. Minus, to go back, I'm sorry.
Yes, sorry.
Do we have an MLSS chair for the district, or is that being handled at each individual school site?
I don't, maybe Suzanne can help us with that. I think it's school site, but I'm not sure. A district chair, no. It's handled at each site. Each site has MLSS teams.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. sorry. Any other questions on screenings or referrals? Okay, so teacher number 1 has 13 students. And if you notice, there's 1 student at the middle school, and then the other 12 are at the high school. In first period, the teacher has 9 students. In second period, the teacher has 8 students. In third period, the teacher has 4 students. In fourth period, 6. In fifth period, 11. And then in seventh period, 4 students. And on the ADM, that one that says roster, that's the ADM that matches the 13 students. And on the back page of that is the 1 student from the middle school. Teacher number 2 has 18 students. First period, 8 students. Second period, 8 students. Third period, 8 students, and that's at the middle school. That student goes to the high school in the afternoon. That teacher goes to the high school in the afternoon, has a fourth period of 7 students, sixth period of 9 students, seventh period of 5 students. So they have 11 and 8. Teacher number 3 has 16 students total, all at the high school. First period is 10 students. Second period is 11 students. Third period is 11 students. Fourth period is 2 students. Fifth period is 4 students. And seventh period is 4 students. For a total of 14. Okay, those are the high school teachers. Middle school teachers. Teacher number 4 has 15 students. Third period, 7 students. Fourth period, 13 students. Fifth period, 4 students. Seventh period, 6 students. And eighth period, 12 students. Teacher number 5 has a total of 16 students. During second period, that teacher has 10 students. Third period, 10 students. Fifth period, 8 students. Sixth period, 11 students. Seventh period, 5 students. And eighth period, 11 students. Teacher number 6 is a quarter-time employee and actually carries 2 students on their roster and has 2 students assigned, even though this says 1 is enrolled in that class.
These are special ed classes only?
These are special ed classes only.
So one of the questions I've had, and I don't know if that's going to be a separate part of your presentation, but those students that have an IEP that requires an aid or supplemental instruction, how do you, is that documented here? That's one of the things that I've been trying to see more of, because that's a thing I hear more of that's not being complied with.
So if you go to the things, then I have the EA. So each teacher, if they have an EA assigned to them, they'll have the 1 EA
Okay.
assigned to them, or 2 EAs. Some teachers have up to even 5 EAs to their program. It just depends on what programming needs they have. So, for example, at the secondary level, middle school and high school levels, the students that typically have EAs, we do not have, at the middle school, we don't have any students that require a one-to-one. So the EA's role is to provide inclusion support as well as with the teachers. If you notice some holes in their schedules, they have like period 2, period 4, period 5, period 7. The teachers have also inclusion time built in as well. So they serve students in a combination setting, segregated pull-out setting, and then inclusion setting. And the EAs at the middle school help facilitate that. At the high school, we have 2 types of EAs. We have an EA that does inclusion and some assistance with segregated instruction, and then we have a one-to-one at the high school. So it just depends their level of service. But I did include that in the report so that you'll see the number of EAs that's assigned to to that teacher for that caseload.
The data is there, more curious, instead of having the data presented as in classroom, I'm more interested in the data that's presented based on the IEPs. How many IEPs have a call for an assistant? How many IEPs have a call for additional instructions?
When you say additional instructions, can you clarify that?
What's that?
When you ask for additional instruction, can you clarify that?
Somebody needs a little bit more time on reading. Somebody needs a little bit more time on math. And that's specifically for complaints that somebody's supposed to be getting so many hours or so many minutes on reading per week, and that's not happening.
So you want a breakdown of the service amounts?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So as the general public, these are just numbers to me. I don't understand all the numbers of them. So to simplify things, given this data, would this data present that there is enough teachers to satisfactorily meet the requirements of our special ed students, or does this data show that there is?
So currently, we do have enough teachers to support that. On the report that I provided to the board members, they also have the total FTE. And that is calculated at the state level, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 level. Pre-K, 3Y, 4Y, those carry those weights. Ms. Davis?
So for state reporting, I also have to report our FTE for our SPED teachers to ensure that we're not overstaffed or understaffed. And right now, what we reported with all our kids and all the data I have to pull, there's a lot of factors that go into it. I think it's a total of around 3 spreadsheets plus about 2 more. I think there are about 7 spreadsheets that the calculation comes from. And all our FTEs are under the 1.0. We did have to ask for 1 waiver. And I know I spoke to Melissa, and we could have distributed those kids a little bit different for each teacher. And then we wouldn't have had to ask for a waiver because none of our teachers are at that 1.0 that the state says then you're over. So right now, all our teachers are well under their FTE. So it was one student. It was 1.04, so the state requires us to submit a waiver for that, which Mrs. Minus did, and it was because of that 0.04 that the teacher was over on the FTEs. So we have to really work with all the teachers and make sure that everything is, I don't even know the word for it, aligned, or all our teachers have at least under a 1 or a 1 FTE, and if not, then if they're over 1 and we're showing a lot of our teachers over 1, then that means we're needing more SPED teachers. But if our teachers are not over that, then we're where we need to be. And if we're well under our FTE, then that means we have way too many SPED teachers. So that's how they calculate it, looking at all our students in the district and looking what every teacher has that is a SPED teacher and working with our students.
So question, so on the waiver, is that a lengthy process? Is it pretty cut and dry?
No, it's a form, and they ask, typically with special education, a teacher can go up to 1, I want to say it's like 1.49 before the state will come back and say, you either need to assign an EA to this person or you need to start looking for another position. And it's a form, and then it asks you, what do you plan to do to remediate this? This teacher that we assigned, applied for a waiver, actually has a number of EAs assigned to that program because of the multiple needs of the program. So that justifies that as well.
Thank you.
I think when Ms. Davis does the the data that Mr. Guadiana had asked for as far as like numbers, what does the decrease in 21 students, what does it mean number-wise for our district in those membership reports, and we can see the multipliers for special education, for bilingual, for EL students. You'll be able to see how that impacts level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, how they get funded at that ratio. And so that report is a little more comprehensive. But did you guys want me to proceed with each teacher, or better prepare for a presentation for next time that talk about services, things like that? And Mr. Guadiana, these are caseload numbers, so every teacher that comes forth, or case manager that says, hey, the student needs extra reading time or extra math time, they need to include that in the IEP, have an addendum, have an amendment, and it may or may not increase the level of service on the IEP. So.
And the reason I ask is Dr. Spalletta had the listen and learn session in Snell, and there was concerns about that additional supplement that students should be getting outside the classroom for like reading that they say weren't being provided, even close to what the IEP called for.
And I don't know about that.
Yeah, and I understand it, and there were no names given, so I can't point you in that direction. But it's just, I'm trying to see where the data is, where I can kind of take a look at that. And you provided the data as it pertains to special ed classes.
Yes.
But special ed students are also in regular classes. And are there IEPs where they receive certain coaches or somebody with them?
Absolutely. There's different combinations of special education programming. So there's all-inclusive, where we may have a student that just needs minimal support, right? Maybe a resource class at the end of the day, or some limited pull-out time. So that student would be in all regular ed settings, and that would be probably like a A-level or level 1 student, and you wouldn't really see that. So the IEP should reflect that. Levels 2 and 3, B and C, should have a more combination of pull-out for core and inclusion for specials or some other things. So yes, you would see. So it varies between IEP. Level 4 are typically your students that are your life skills students, and that are mostly in life skills oriented classrooms with minimal times out into the regular ed setting. So all our SPED students are regular ed students first, so they will always be out with their regular ed peers and have to be exposed to that grade level curriculum in some capacity. So that's why I'm saying it varies. And so yes, if you have a SPED student in a regular ed class, they have an IEP that is supposed to be customized to their needs, including accommodations, modifications, any kind of inclusionary strategies, support, differentiated instruction. So that should be spelled out in the IEPs.
And those are made known to the teacher?
It should be through the case manager. The case manager should, the case manager is the point person of that caseload and should be sharing that information with general ed teachers, any kind of substitutes that they have, any kind of lunch monitors, janitors. So that is supposed to happen. That is the intent of special education and IEPs.
Do you review that to ensure that it's happening?
I review it and I have meetings with them, but so yes, I can review that again if there are concerns in that area.
Okay.
I had a question related to our special education students with SEL. Is that ever put in an IEP, social emotional learning aspects?
So typically if a student needs some support for social emotional skills, a lot of times that's assigned as our related service provider to our social workers. And so they will have social work services on an IEP. So that typically does that. Again, if a student has goals in all areas, all educators should be working on that same goal. So that way, if you have a social worker who's working on something specific, you don't just address it on every other Thursday at 10 o'clock. The social worker addresses it at that time and then helps to generalize the skills in the classroom with the collaboration of the gen ed teacher and regular ed teacher. But yes.
Okay.
So not SEL per se, because that's not an area of need.
Right, but like for social work services, so would the parent have to request that, or could a teacher suggest that if they feel that that student, or does it have to be a team decision?
All IEPs are team decisions.
Well, I mean, for the initial meeting to occur, I know like when you're at a IEP, it's a meeting decision for social work, but say the student was feeling down or, tried.
Yeah, again, that's through the MLSS, okay, is for all, right? So layer 1 is universal design. Layer 2 is some more targeted support. Layer 3 is intensive support. And if we're not seeing any kind of remediation, the student's still not accessing their environment, they're having problems socially, emotionally connecting with peers and staff, then they should start talking to the special ed department and say, hey, we need some consultation. We need to start meeting together. And the interventions still run concurrently. They can always run concurrently during the evaluation process. And then they should continue after special education. Special education is supplemental. So all students should be getting that, whether it's counseling from a counselor, and those could be the recommendations. Sometimes students need BIPs, behavior intervention plans. Sometimes they need FBAs. That can be all done within the context of the regular ed as well, through MLSS. But it's not just academics. So yes, it's behavior, emotional supports. So that we have to look at the whole child. So to answer your question, a parent can submit a request for evaluation, and the district considers that request. So for example, if we've never heard of a student and teachers, everybody says, oh yeah, this student's doing good, then we get a parent request. Usually what happens is we take that, we look at that, we start putting our feelers out, we start asking teachers what's going on with the student, and then we respond to the parent, hey, this is a valid referral, we're going to proceed. Or, you know what, they're getting straight A's, there are no reports, tell me about how your concern is impacting them in the school setting. Because there are some diagnoses out there that kids function just well, and they don't need a lot of support, but all our eligibilities are impacted in the school setting. And we use the New Mexico Team Manual, so NM, Technical Evaluation Assistance Manual, guidance to guide our eligibilities. And so they all have to be eligible under those guidelines to start providing an IEP. It's not to say that they can't get support. They can get support through 504 or through other channels. Does that answer?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So ADHD would typically fall under an OHI, other health impairment category. Could. It depends. So again, it's all that triangulation of data. How is the child performing in school? How are they progressing with interventions?
What would be the first step, I guess, when a diagnosis, whether any type of neurological diagnosis is already given and the students come into the school?
I would say give it to the principal and to the nurse, to the counselor, provide that, and then that guides that evaluation process and eligibility. It doesn't always necessarily mean that a student with ADHD would have an IEP.
Right, because in some kind of diagnosis, for example, ADHD, they have teachers, right? Necessarily doesn't fall under typical special education, but obviously there would be
It could be, yes. It could be, yes. So it depends, and everything is unique to the child and their learning and their access to their education environment. Okay, so moving on, I can plan then, Mr. Guadiana, for the next meeting to maybe do a more deeper dive about maybe like how many students we have with reading minutes, math minutes, things like that. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, and one other question that I have that is not on the agenda, as far as with the next presentations that you'll be making, is preparation for community integration.
Transition?
Yes.
We school to work transitions, that's what we call it.
Well,
So like
they're going to
post
be
high school?
when they're going to be graduating from high school, are they getting prepared for that?
Okay, and then the next thing I was going to talk about, are we okay to move on to the next topic? Equity, our equity council. Our equity council is, we're trekking along, and so we had our equity council meeting, our first initial on-board meeting on October 26th at 5 o'clock. And we had eight participants show up. And they were pretty excited. A lot of the teachers wondered why they were there and who invited them and things like that. But nonetheless, they were excited to participate. We did an overview. The new guidance is for teams restarting after COVID. Is they want us to really look and provide, and I think I mentioned this the last time, is do at least two things of that of the 4 action items recommended for this year. And so one thing they want us to look at is to really look at a readiness assessment for our district and to try to complete that today. And then to try to, this year, not today. And then to also develop a culturally and linguistically responsive framework that will align all our curriculum and our funds and for our district and kind of drive how we make the decisions moving forward for all our EL kids, our Native American students, our students with disabilities, and our impoverished children. So, like I said, they're really excited to share. We do have another Equity Council lead meeting, so that's at the state level through a webinar on the 17th at 3:30, and so we'll get some more guidance. There's a lot of information that needs to be shared with onboarding, and so it's a real involved process. But I think the team is ready to move forward. We have some seats for some extra people, and so I'm looking at Ms. Villegas over there, and we'll get her information. The team was looking at how do we include student voices in there, and so they had some ideas about student council reps, maybe National Honor Society reps at the secondary and so SNEL and high school levels, and so if you guys have ideas around that, but we have a pretty good little core group going. Okay.
Do you have like a timeline right now? Like, what are you planning to do or anything like that?
So the timeline was given to us by the state, just reorganizing and saying, hey, all this was being launched during COVID, and a lot of schools like ourselves, we didn't even realize who our equity council was, and so everybody's restarting, and so they said, as long as you do 2 items, and they said the readiness assessment, and so our target, more or less soft target, is after semester for our readiness assessment, and then our CLR framework is next spring. So,
How many more open positions are there? And are you looking for students, parents, additional teachers? I know you said there was very specific. Okay. And
so we have a little bit of everybody we have. And if anybody is interested, they can contact me. My email and contact information is on the website, so and then I'll send out some flyers and things through Facebook and through, it's not School Reach anymore.
Maybe Parent Square.
Parent Square.
Okay.
Parent Square, yes.
Thank you.
So that's that. And then the other thing, the big thing that's we're getting more information on is our gifted students. And so gifted education is really a little confusing because we're one of few states that recognize, or not recognize, but house gifted, how do I say this? Yeah, recognize gifted as an eligibility under SPED. Typically, it's a separate thing, and I think the state is moving more towards that because they have moved the gifted ed department from the SPED division at the PED to the curriculum and instruction division. And that has been happening over the last 2 years. My contact there is directly working out of there. I did send you some correspondence as soon as I found out that our gifted teacher was no longer with us. as where to go and what guidance to do. And we are in compliance. We have our students assigned to our special education teachers who are knowledgeable in IEPs and building IEPs and providing case management, and in some cases providing course acceleration. So we are doing that. I'm working with Ms. Chavita and Dr. Spalletta to see how is this going to take off? How is this going to look for our district? We still do need to provide, to develop a gifted ed council, right? Or committee. And then we need to decide how are we going to recruit somebody if we are looking for somebody for licensure, how is that going to look? And like I said, our gifted right now number of students is under 5. How is our plan for expansion? How are we going to work on those referrals, things like that? Because I talking to principals, I know the students are out there. But again, it's that reverse, it's that strength-based model, and how do you enrich that? So that's where we are with gifted. It's a little bit in limbo. The one thing that is coming out, they said November, December, is the new gifted technical assistance manual. So it'll provide new guidance. So as soon as that rolls out, I will be sharing that with you guys.
So is there any clarification on the need for a certified gifted instructor?
Right now, I think because there is a shortage, they are allowing us to assign them to the special education teacher caseloads. And so, and anybody who is interested can apply and take the teachers can take the test. Before, it used to just be special education teachers, and then they had to get that certification. Now it's open to all teachers. And I think there's some testing involved or some coursework. So
Just,
that licensure.
I wonder how effective it would be if the teacher isn't certified and isn't trained in that, if she's just trained in regular special education.
Before it was like a requirement, you had to be a special education teacher and then apply for that credential. And now you have to be a certified teacher in regular ed or special ed, and you can apply for that. So that's one of the changes as well. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, I know I'm getting a little wordy up here, is I know it was mentioned about the listen and learn meetings that have been going on in our district. So as a follow-up to some of the concerns, and I realized that the concerns were about special education and feeling maybe a lack of communication. So I did do some meetings with all our SPED staff at the elementary level and the secondary level. The elementary meeting was on October 24th, and the secondary meeting was the following day on the 25th. And this was related service providers, EAs, our educational assistants, and our teachers. Okay, and we all collaboratively, they went well. The teachers did explain that they were feeling maybe a little overstretched, overtaxed a little bit, but they all felt that we needed a reset. And so I've talked to Suzanne and Dr. Spalletta also about doing a SPED 101 training for all of our staff, right? We have new staff, we have teachers that went through the LEAP program and they didn't get that formal schooling, so maybe a special education 101, the basics. And then EA training is going to be in December. I know that was a big need and a big concern, specific EA training. The other thing that we're going to talk about moving forward is there's new guidance on collaborative goal writing. So that's new to our world, right? Before in IEPs, we had separate goals like for math, written language, reading, OT, PT, speech, and no longer they want everybody to collaborate on goals and what are the needs. So I'm trying to bring somebody in for that. And then just team up with Ms. Chavita on any MLSS or SAT referral meetings so we can streamline our processes. Also, I had a parent forum meeting. I think I shared this with you the last time as well. As a result of Dr. Spalletta's meeting with stakeholders, and our parents were very excited. They did talk about transitions, and they wanted to know more about transitions. So after the Thanksgiving break, we're going to have a meeting at a parent forum at SNAL, and hopefully bring a presenter or someone about transitions. We had a couple of parents worried about the transition from elementary to middle school, and a parent particularly that was worried about school to work and what's going to happen to my child when they graduate and leave this facility. So those are the kind of things that are going on in my world, but is there anything else? Thank you.
No.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
I think we covered a couple of those things. There is 2 staff town hall meetings. I've tried to share those with you, and we've posted it on the website. So we'll be going through those when we do our retreat. So I just want to make sure you had that in your packet. The next thing is the school fundraisers, and I know some of these are a little bit old, but they were from the previous board meeting. So I just want to pass those along for fundraisers. Lots of different groups doing fundraisers now. The next thing is school safety, and I have 2 things I wanted to update you on. I know we're going to keep this on the agenda. So there's been quite a few discussions about fentanyl. We have purchased Narcan nasal spray for all of the campuses. So that will be something that we keep in the emergency kits at each campus, and the nurses will be the ones that administer that. That's something that's part of our standing order with the New Mexico Department of Health. The second item under school safety is, I think we discussed this, I know we've discussed it in the finance meetings. The door system at Snell is not ideal. It's not, you got to bang on the door for 10 minutes before the secretary hears you to open the door. So we're in the process of purchasing a door system with a camera and a lock system. Victor's going to talk a little bit more about that system.
Hello, Board President, members of the board, and Dr. Spoletta. Yeah, so just to reiterate on what Dr. Spoletta said right now is the doorbell system is going to be similar to what we have in place at the high school. It's going to be a doorbell with a camera where the secretary will be able to see off a monitor, communicate through a push button, and open the door.
So they're actually, nobody has to get up or anything else. They can just click them in.
They'll be able to do it from the inside, yes, sir.
Cool.
So we're in the process of purchasing that system right now.
And we have a time frame?
Frank, do you have an idea when that will be purchased? I know we've turned in everything. I know that you guys are working on.
Yeah, I was able to obtain a revised quote too today, but it was through the other company, so we're waiting for the one that you guys made the decision on. Okay.
So hopefully in the next 2 weeks we can get everything processed.
The quote is the one that's on our. The quote is the one that's in our packet.
Yes. And so the finance committee had some questions about the taxes being, so that's what he's asked for a revised quote on that.
So there's 2 sets of doors that are used mostly, and that's the ones that are around that little horseshoe, and then the ones by the principal's office. Is the doorway by the horseshoe is still in use a lot?
During the day, that main front door is the one that's used. The other door's locked. Well, they're all locked, but everybody comes from that main entrance.
The main entrance, the one leading out to the big parking lot?
The one right next to the secretary's office where the glass windows are at. So
So-
that's where it would go right there.
Yeah, I understand that's where that'll go, but those other doors around the horseshoe are used a lot, both at the beginning of school and at the end of school. I don't know if they're closed during the regular hours of school.
They're closed during the regular hours, and we can talk about that under our new business legislative funding request a little bit later on the agenda. We were putting we submitted an application today for legislative funding for those safety things.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anything else as far as safety that the board would like to talk about? Hopefully we can update that on a regular basis and talk about things we're doing as far as safety.
I'd like to talk about radios.
About what?
Radios.
Okay.
We had mentioned that the form of communication that had been kind of relied on right now is telephones and cell phones. But by far, radios are a better form of communication in case of an emergency and even general operations.
Well, as a administrator in a large building, we use radios with our admin and our main people there in the building. But as an elementary principal, we did have them in every classroom. Every teacher had, even EAs had walkie-talkies. So when they went out to recess or went to special, they had a radio.
I think that's a great idea because at the school I work at, I carry my radio with me, and it's very valuable to me to be able to call and have someone answer immediately, especially our school nurse, and everyone in our school building has that walkie-talkie. It's issued to us, we're responsible for charging it, and it's a huge factor in school safety.
I think it's the most efficient tool. And it is something that we can do without putting in wires, without doing anything else. And I would like to see that move to a high priority for the schools.
Let's see if we can get an estimate on what that would cost. But that is when I was an elementary principal, we did use those too.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything?
No, I just know in a couple of the policy review meetings, that subject had come up several times. And where custodians and faculty staff had to share the radio. But they need to get a hold of custodian. Well, she's down the hall or whatever. And I just, like I say, get a budgetary estimate and see what that looks like.
Okay, I'll do that for sure. Title IX, we've talked about that for several times. So in front of you is a Title IX implementation plan, and I'll go through it briefly. If you have any questions, let me know. I feel like this is pretty thorough. Back in August, we purchased a student sexual harassment investigation guide. That's for the coordinator, the investigator, and myself. We purchased that from our attorneys. It's a pretty thorough guide. There's a lot of forms in it. All of our staff members, well, everybody, including substitutes, have done Title IX training. They've done sexual harassment staff to staff, grooming part 1, grooming part 2. And everybody did that by October 1st. And then any new staff will have 30 days to complete that training. As I mentioned last time, the staff members in charge of Title IX will be Michael Corey, Ned Acosta, Melissa Minus, myself, and then, of course, Deanna Davis has been our Human Resources Director. So we had that in place by the 24th.
Dr. Spalletta, sorry to interrupt. Question came to mind is we talked about conflict of interest being such a small district with possibly contracting out for this services when this happens. Has that been explored or looked at for contractors?
So what we've done two things. So we're going to cross-train. That's in this plan for all of us to cross-train. And then also our attorney is going to work with us on that.
Thank you.
The website's been updated as of October 26th with the contact information, forms, and a flow chart. And we're going to continue updating that. We've got some newer information from Las Cruces, and some things are changing also, so we're going to continue updating that. Our team went to Las Cruces and spent half a day there with their Title IX coordinator and their HR director. That was on November 2nd. They helped us a lot going through all of their forms and processes. All of our team, our Title IX team, has gotten training videos through PED. It's called Title IX Training for Administrators. So hopefully by this week, everyone will have gone through all those training videos on Canvas. And then there's some more, which probably, it's gonna be a little bit more time, about 12 hours of training, 9 videos. And that's through Palms and Associates. I skipped one thing here. We are gonna update our forms to make some of them where they're fillable forms, so that they're like like a Google form, so people can just, and we're gonna have PDF forms as well if people need those too. So hopefully it'll be easy to use. So we're kind of following the format from Las Cruces, how they have it. Yes, PDFs. We found out that Las Cruces goes to El Paso to Region 19. That's they do the professional development for the El Paso area. So they're going to do training for us also. It's free on December 1st, 4 hours of training for our team. And then we're going to present at our December 2nd training, we're going to present our administrators with 2 hours of training. Pretty much the training that we got from Las Cruces, they provided it to us so we can give it to our administrators. And then we're also going to present our staff additional training on December 2nd, an hour training, additional Title IX training. We're going to send out an email to all the staff, continually reinforcing the things that we've been talking about. Filling out how to fill out a form of any kind of Title IX violations, to submit a complaint. We're going to send out an email on December 5th. We're going to have bi-weekly Title IX meetings so that we're up to date on everything, so we can talk about what's going on across the district. We're going to meet with Deborah Noble. She's the Title IX officer for Western New Mexico University. And the last thing, there's actually 2 more things here. Something's missing on here. We're going to review the sports salary schedules to make sure they're adequate for everybody. But there's a training that we're going to also do that I don't have listed on here, and I'm not sure how it got left off. It's a certified training for all Title IX, our administrative team. So we're hoping that we can do that, split that with Las Cruces. They may come here or we may go there. And it'll be multiple days where we go over the different roles, coordinator role, the investigator role, the decision maker role, and everybody will be certified with a certificate and everything, all of our different people. So it'll be cross-training for everybody. And I don't know why that's not on this list, but it should be on there.
Quick question, is there any schedule to roll out Title IX to students, and about language and about if they I do have an issue, forms they can fill out or complaints, or is it just all administration and teachers at this point?
Adults at this point.
Okay.
But and that's on our list for the future for sure.
Thank you.
I appreciate that the salaries are going to be reviewed, but what about the facilities? In terms of the inequity of facilities for girls' sports and perhaps even the amount of funding provided for the individual sport as well as the travel accommodations.
I can add that to the list too. Keep you updated on that. I think this is going to get us pretty well up to date where we should be. Las Cruces has their plan together pretty good, so they've been very helpful helping us. So the next thing on the agenda is the recruitment committee. As you heard, we've lost a few students, so I think what's really important is that we have a marketing and a recruitment committee. So that's something I'll probably talk to you more about during our retreat, is how can we market and recruit students. The strategic plan, I know you asked me to look at a couple different people besides CES, so I've got 2 additional services, and I'm going to finalize those and bring it to our next finance meeting. Hopefully we can get started by the 1st of December with our strategic plan. There's a big cost differences in them, and so I'm going to get more information so I can present it to the finance committee too.
Okay.
Hopefully we can have our strategic plan in place by May or March or April. Should be about 3 months. Food services, that was something that we've talked about putting on there. I know there's been a lot of discussion at the listen and learn meetings, the student forums, pretty much all of the meetings. So I've worked with our food services department to make sure that students have enough to eat at all of the campuses. So I think that should be fixed. Students shouldn't be going to the cafeteria and not getting enough to eat. So hopefully that's been fixed. I'm not sure about that. Frank, do you know who the Shamrock is?
So I guess my question is probably a bit more specific. Assuming that in this school district, there's not a main dietitian that runs the school program. Right? So there's a director, so that director, their food comes from Shamrock. Okay, and who exactly, or how would I find out who creates the meal plans for the district? The director? But the director's not a dietitian, correct? Is there just like do they work for another company, or are they hired by?
I think she goes by the federal guidelines to create
Well,
the.
no, I mean, of course they do that, but I'm asking, for example, I myself am a dietitian, so in every schools, I don't know how, different districts work differently. But yes, my question would be, as a parent, who or what are making those decisions? A lot of the times, smaller districts will have like a food director, but sometimes their vendors may also help them create the meals. So for my question in regards to is that
The director.
Director for the district, correct? And where would I find information on that for the name?
You can provide.
Yeah, I can give you her name and number.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you want to stay after, and I can give you her name and
Yeah, of
number.
course, thank you.
Okay. She's usually here. She had another commitment tonight.
I had a question regarding diet students that are diabetics. The process, as was explained to me by by our director, was that a student would have to bring in, or a parent would have to bring in a note from the doctor prescribing a diet for the student. And that doesn't seem to be in place from the student point of view. Maybe that's something that's in place, but it's not well known. Also, the current process just includes doing a carb count, for which there's not really any selection that would vary. That if it's meat and if it's gravy and mashed potatoes, then there's not the alternative to that. So all you're doing is keeping track of numbers that are excessive. And so the student is given the choice of don't eat or eat. And so if we could come up with a process that
I know that she does shop at the co-op for alternative food choices, but I'll find out more about them. In fact, I can have her present at the next meeting if you'd like.
yeah, if you can give and include numbers of children that are diabetic that have been identified, and that kind of would help understanding how pervasive our information is for getting attention to that.
And there was an item on the review of bills for items purchased at the food co-op.
Oh,
So
good.
it was on the review of bills, and one of the members had asked about it. So it was for students with dietary, special diets, restrictions.
I would also be interested in a presentation from them. Obviously, as a I also dealt with issues when it came to, special requirements. This would be my first setting in a school where there's not a dietitian. I will be or the meal,
Menu process.
we have some openings in food services.
Fortunately, as a dietitian,
Oh.
I am though an advocate if I support in that area as one of my so yes, if opportunity, but it's just me wanting that knowledge for myself as far as, food that is coming, that is being served to
Well, I do know too, we have a partnership, our Bayard Elementary has the partnership with the Commons for the produce stand. And then Alicia Edwards comes in with one of our programs too. So it's something else to consider.
So next, in your packet, there's a maintenance program that we've put together for our activity buses. As you know, like many of our other operations area, Mr. Kinnon's done a good job of getting things revamped a lot. And so one thing that we've done is we've partnered with Montoya Transportation to have a maintenance program for our buses. They haven't been serviced after trips for years. And of course, we've got lots of problems that we're trying to get ready for the bus inspection, but they haven't been maintained over the years. So we're hoping that this maintenance program will help in the long run for the buses, that they'll be safer, they won't break down. Apparently, they've broken down a lot in the past, so they Montoya Transportation will, well, after every activity bus is returned, one of our maintenance staff will clean the inside of the bus. Montoya Transportation will pick it up, they'll do an inspection of it, any repairs, any maintenance, and then they'll bring it back to us. So that'll be the regular routine going forward with all of our activity buses. So that information there is the maintenance program and kind of what their scope of work, and then our contract with them also.
I just have a few items. Is that, so this is for after the preventative maintenance schedule is for after the school check for the bus? Is that correct? So what I would suggest, is there like a pre-shift prior to the bus?
There's a pre and a post.
And so is this going to be tracked in some type of data or database that can be accessed when needed? Okay. And I think it would be good too, so that we had to go back and look at whatever, but I think a more preventative check sheet would be better. This is very simple compared to what a bus has. Yeah, just a suggestion.
There is preventative maintenance program that was put together. I don't think it includes the vehicles. As a matter of fact, it doesn't include very much of anything. And that's probably something we should be looking at putting in place.
Well, because we're also guided by OSHA, and so we need to make sure we're also following OSHA guidelines.
Yeah, we have a maintenance plan that's about 50 pages long, but it's probably could be 1,000 pages long. It's not very thorough.
But it does have door hinges and I think HVAC systems, yeah.
It needs more things.
No, it just has door hinges. That's the two things that it has. So.
We're working on it. So, but that maintenance plan will help the buses tremendously. I just want to remind everybody about the food drive. This is the last week to donate canned foods and non-perishables. We're still accepting donations for turkeys. Right now, we have about 240 families on our list to do home visits to drop off turkeys and food. We've got businesses coming in to help us with putting everything together and delivering them to the families. Starting on Wednesday, they're going to help us start packing things, and then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday we'll be doing the deliveries. Several of our student organizations are helping us too.
How many turkeys do you have, or is it just the non-perishable that you're looking for?
We've ordered 200 of them, and I think there's 50 have been donated, I think, at this point. So we're at about 250, turkey and hams.
Very good. That's excellent.
So we have a motorcycle group helping us deliver. We have different businesses that are helping us deliver too, and then staff as well, and students. So if any of you are interested, Saturday would be a really good day. I think the other ones are filled up. A lot of people helping. Let's see. So looking at a plan for substitutes, we started out the year, Ms. Davis did a really great job during the summer of getting out hustling and getting a lot of substitutes. We thought we had enough, and they gradually have gone by the wayside. So we're hoping to gather some more substitutes, and so we're working on a plan to maybe give the substitutes a little extra pay based on the CARES Act, because we do have some extra funding there. So we're going to try to make a plan here in near future and bring that to the next finance committee meeting to go over with them. But we definitely got to a low point here as far as subs. We started out the year really good, and a lot of them have dropped off.
How's the permanent substitute working?
We've lost a lot of those permanent substitutes. It's helped a lot, but this time of the year is when different things happen and you need more staff members. So, Ms. Davis, what do you think?
I know at Silver Schools that they've recently done this, and it seems to be a motivator for subs is they've been paying them weekly. I don't know if that's something that the district can do, but
It's a good idea.
that seems to keep them coming, paying them every week.
Well, we were thinking about giving them a higher rate just for this year. Well, we do have a little extra funding, but that sounds like a great idea too, to pay weekly. I don't know, Frank looked at me, I don't know.
In the case of, like, there was one teacher at the high school that just left already, and before the semester ended. Is that being filled with a?
That position was filled by a certified teacher.
Okay, good. In that particular discipline?
I believe so, yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
So the last thing is the use of facility. There's 2 facility requests that I've signed there. One for the learnings, let's see, early learning, and then one for the Cobre class of 2023. That's it for my report.
Okay, one more item, and then you can have it. That's the legislative funding request, the new high school and safety upgrades.
So I guess the safety upgrade was what we mentioned about Snell, but we did submit our legislative funding request today for about $480,000. We're going to do it in 3 different requests, but it was recommended that we just do one. And so that's going to provide camera systems for the schools. And Victor's here. I'll let him go into a little bit more detail on it, but we submitted it today. And Victor, you want to let them know about the legislative funding request from today?
Yes, sir. So we submitted the application, and this is going to cover, the request is going in for camera system, and the plans is to hopefully implement it at Cobre High School, Snell Middle School, and Bayard Elementary. We submitted it as one whole, and whatever's awarded, we will then prioritize.
They may not give us that much. Normally, it's about 350 to 400,000, so we went over a little bit, but that was what suggested that we do that.
So is this what you will present to the Grant County prospectors, or this is directly to capital outlay?
It'll be to the Grant County prospectors, and then
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe.
Okay, so who's going to be presenting on behalf of our district?
Most
Two of
likely
us.
myself and Dr. Spoletta.
And can you let us know what day that will be?
It is going to be December 2nd, I believe.
Is that at WNMU?
That's a WNMU, yes, ma'am.
Usually a board member goes to Santa Fe also. Did they do
Correct.
that last year? Or?
Yes, the last few years, up until the pandemic hit, I was superintendent, board president, and myself.
And that occurs in February, doesn't it?
Correct, February.
There are very strong and well-situated representatives from here, specifically Lieutenant Governor Morales and Saya Hemphill, Senator Hemphill, that have really expressed an interest in helping the district. It would probably be wise to meet with them in addition to meeting with the prospectors. They have much more of a direct tie in the legislature. And I think that would help our
Correct.
chances a great deal.
We'll meet with them during the prospectors thing, and then they'll most likely set up a meeting afterwards. That's how they usually do it. Yeah, nothing prior.
There'll also be a second funding through the governor's office also for funding. So that's going to be a larger amount too. So we'll let you know about when we get that application.
And if we could get more of an appraisal before the February presentations made at the Capitol, the lobbying effort, I'd like to see what we could put together, and that should be something the board should be involved in. That is one of our roles, is to lobby for the benefit of the district.
I also think if we need the additional funding, if we don't get funded the full amount, we can have those meetings with our legislatures for their junior money or their additional money they get for their projects too.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and the other thing too is we're hoping whatever can't be funded through this, maybe that's when the technology bond will fall in place. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Victor. Now is the time for public input on items that are not on the agenda. I appreciate your patience.
So, for all of you who may or may not know me, I am Christina Ortiz. I am your new USDA Rural Development Representative under the newly established Rural Partners Network program. This program was established by President Biden it was established by President Biden in order to assist in being more collaborative with the local communities and the federal funding agencies. No, the intent is to provide easier access to all the resources that the federal government has to offer, especially all the funding that's coming down with the new infrastructure bill and all those new funding sources. And it's to build additional local capacity. So I am your liaison for this area. I will be serving the communities or the counties of Grant, Luna, Hidalgo, and Catron County. So whenever you have questions or concerns, you want to forward me any of your project requests projects that you're looking for funding, I will be your contact person in order to contact the federal agencies, the funding agencies, to see how we have to start rolling your application in, okay? So there are about 15 agencies, probably more agencies now, that I will be working under at the federal level. And they're from USDA, Department of the Treasury, the Department of Interior, Department of Education, Labor Department. It's just a big network, okay? So this is the pilot series. New Mexico was one of the first 5 states that were selected for this program. And they had a call for proposals that was put out in which the demographics of our area helped us qualify. Okay, so they're going for the lower income population.
So is it still is it currently being a study? Is that the protocol?
We are the first pilot set.
Okay, so we're the pilot. Okay.
We are the first pilot. There's going to be, I believe, 4 cohorts. And the first cohort is Arizona, New Mexico, Mississippi, Georgia, and Kentucky. And then, go ahead.
If I may clarify something, being on a part of the agenda that is input on things that are not on the agenda, it prohibits us from really engaging in an exchange of information, and that would include that because that circumvents the Open Meetings Act. And our agenda really is for input at the very beginning and at the very end. We've allowed you to do the input throughout the meetings because this is your first meeting, and it's actually something that has been contemplated prior to the reassembly of the board. Deming had a system where input could be given after every single agenda item. Ours is not set up that way. But I appreciate your input and just going. Yeah. Yes. But also in terms of being apprised of the agenda, the opportunity to speak is at the very beginning. So that's where we're at. Okay.
So for New Mexico, we are one of 3 networks that have been established. Like I say, mine is the 4-county area. We have our second network, which is Doña Ana, and they are assembling our 3rd network, which is up in Mora County. Okay. So with that, the programs were set to where the proposals were submitted by what they call host entities, and the Silver City or Southwest Council of Governments through Priscilla Lucero. They're the ones that put the proposal in. Okay, and then we have one out of Doña Ana, which is the Mesilla Valley Public Housing Authority, and then the Mora one is Northern New Mexico Pathways. So, like I say, I am your contact person for any questions, concerns, information that you want to submit to me. Please email me right now. I don't have my phone yet, but I wrote my email on this presentation. I did get a chance to speak with Mr. Kennan. We discussed looking at funding for the security cameras and I believe a solar project for the high school. Yeah, so I did speak to some of my contacts today. So I will be getting with Dr. Spalletta and Mr. Frank Ryan on getting some initial documentation and get it up to the federal agencies. That way they can start their processes in getting you guys qualified. Or not qualified, but ran through the system saying, because school districts are a little different than municipalities that we're used to. So they have, like a municipality, you have to have less than 10,000 population. So school districts are a little bit different. But we'll go through them and come up with a plan, and something will get submitted back to you guys. So.
I would hope that Dr. Spalletta, you're able to put them on the agenda at some point and we can have a better interchange. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So that ends, that's the last item on the agenda for the open session. So now I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for limited personnel matters and personally identifiable student information as permitted under sections 10-15-1, paragraph H, bullets 2 and 4 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically so that the superintendent can update the board and legal counsel can advise regarding investigation of specific student disciplinary matters, including related personnel reorganization. And a second item under the executive session will be as permitted under section 10-15-1, paragraph H in New Mexico Open Meetings Act, section 12-6-5 of the New Mexico Audit Act, specifically to discuss the progress of special audits and the next steps regarding the same.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Terrazas?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Ms. Dean?
Yes.
Sorry. And Ms. Begay?
Yes.
All unanimous vote. We are now in closed session.
we're turning on the stream.
Okay, that's ready. You guys are ready to go.
Please turn on your mics.
Motion to come back into open session?
So moved.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Then I'll take a roll call vote to come back in. Mr. Kirazi?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Begay?
Yes.
And Ms. Dean?
Yes.
Okay, we are back in open session. The last thing on the agenda is adjournment. I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?